Queen Elizabeth II's three-word response to royal rule breakers. Throughout her remarkable 70-year reign, Queen Elizabeth II became legendary not only for her unwavering sense of duty but also for the quiet authority she exercised with remarkably few words. One particular three-word phrase stood out as her ultimate line. In the sand whenever a family member or courtier crossed an important boundary. "Not on my watch," was the concise, powerful response she delivered. When someone attempted to bend, break, or ignore the unspoken rules that governed royal behavior and preserved the dignity of the crown, those three simple words carried the full weight of her sovereignty. They signaled an immediate and non-negotiable end to any unacceptable conduct. No debate, no excuses, no second chances were permitted once she spoke them. The phrase was never shouted, never delivered in anger, but always uttered in a calm, measured tone that made it all the more impossible to challenge or ignore. Insiders who served in her private household for decades recall hearing the expression used in various delicate situations. It became a kind of internal code among senior staff, a shorthand reminder that certain lines simply could not be crossed while the Queen remained on the throne. One of the earliest documented instances occurred in the late 1980s, when growing media attention on the marital difficulties of the Prince and Princess of Wales threatened to destabilize the institution. According to several reliable accounts from that period, the Queen summoned key advisors and close family members to a private meeting at Buckingham Palace. After listening carefully to the various proposals being floated, she fixed her gaze on those present and spoke three words that brought the discussion to an abrupt halt. "Not on my watch." The message was unmistakable, whatever personal sympathies existed. The monarchy's reputation and long-term stability must come first. The phrase was used again during the turbulent 1990s, when younger royals began testing boundaries more openly. Several well-known incidents involving late-night club appearances, indiscreet photographs, and questionable associations prompted swift intervention. Rather than issue lengthy reprimands or public statements, the Queen summoned the individuals concerned and delivered her signature three-word verdict in a private setting. "Not on my watch," ended the conversation immediately, and prompted rapid changes in behavior from those involved. Biographers such as Robert Hardman, Sally Bedell Smith, and Ingrid Seward have all referenced the phrase in their works. They describe it as one of the most frequently repeated private expressions of Queen Elizabeth II during her reign. Hardman in particular notes that the words were deployed not only against family members but also against courtiers, politicians, and even foreign dignitaries who occasionally overstepped. In every case, the effect was the same: instant compliance. The Queen rarely needed to raise her voice or repeat herself. Her calm delivery, combined with the immense authority of the crown, made the phrase devastatingly effective. Even in her later years, when mobility became limited and public engagements fewer, the words retained their power. During the difficult period following the 2020 Oprah interview and the subsequent departure of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, the Queen is said to have used the phrase again privately, Close aides report that she spoke it during discussions about how far the institution should bend to accommodate personal grievances or media-driven narratives. Not on my watch reaffirmed her belief that certain core principles of service, discretion and duty must remain non-negotiable regardless of modern pressures. The phrase also extended beyond family matters. When government ministers occasionally proposed changes to long-standing protocols for political convenience, the Queen would quietly but firmly draw the line. Not on my watch reminded everyone that constitutional conventions and centuries of tradition were not subject to short-term expediency. Foreign leaders and diplomats who pushed too hard on ceremonial details or symbolic gestures received the same message. The Queen's mastery of understatement made the phrase even more potent. She never needed elaborate explanations or lengthy lectures. 3 words delivered with quiet certainty were sufficient to reassert control and restore proper order. Former private secretaries and ladies-in-waiting have recalled how staff would sometimes warn one another in hushed tones. Be careful or you'll get the "not on my watch" treatment. The expression became a kind of palace folklore, a shorthand for the Queen's absolute commitment to protecting the dignity and continuity of the monarchy. After her death in September 2022, the phrase took on an almost mythical quality among those who had served her. Many former members of the household still use it as a private tribute to her style of leadership. Not on my watch now stands as a perfect encapsulation of Queen Elizabeth II's approach to monarchy: calm, resolute, traditional yet adaptable, always focused on the long term. She understood that true authority does not require volume or drama but clarity, conviction and impeccable timing. In moments of uncertainty or challenge, she simply reminded everyone who was ultimately in charge. And those 3 words were always enough. Not on my watch. Simple, direct, unanswerable, and forever part of the legacy of a queen who ruled not through fear but through quiet, unbreakable resolve.